I cannot not share it, if that makes sense. Like, I need to share this message. It was so good. And I can't take credit for it, but I did come home and study it some more, and just applied it to my life, I guess. So I just want to share it in hopes that it would help someone else. But it was at my friend had invited us to, my friend had, their church had a pastor anniversary. That's what it was. So it was Pleasant Valley Church in Camp Hill, but the guest speaker was Pastor Jarrell Winters. So I can't take credit for this, but I think the message was so good that I need to share this message. So, but he spoke from Jeremiah 1:5, and we already know, most people, you know, who went to church or grew up in church, we know that scripture, Jeremiah 1:5. So before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So before I formed you, I knew you. But I just want to give you a couple of things that I wrote down, notes that I wrote down from when he spoke. He says, formed before you were visible. I need y'all to let that marinate. He said, formed before you were visible. And what that reminded me of is when a woman becomes pregnant, and she may feel like she's pregnant, and she'll get a test, and the test may say you are indeed pregnant. But you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can even learn the sex of the babies, before they're visible. Lord have mercy. He said, formed before you were visible. So you have to wait a certain amount of time for the babies, for the images to show up on the ultrasound. I'm going to try not to get too excited because the word definitely blessed me. But another thing he said was, known before you were ready. So he said, formed before you were visible, known before you were ready. Means, I'm reading from my notes, y'all. So he says, so known before you were ready. Now, to me, this is what I got out of it. It means that you were formed for a purpose. So what designer designs something without an intended purpose? Like the Donna Karen didn't design her pieces, I don't even remember what she's known for. I just know that name just popped up. But I think handbags maybe, or clothes or whatever. But she didn't, she was known. Lord have mercy. No, let me get back up. I'm going to give a better example. Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry name was given to him before he started walking in his purpose. He was known as Tyler Perry before he was known for movies. Does that make sense? So he was known before he was ready. His name was established before he started walking in his purpose. Lordy. And the same with Donna Carey, because I don't want nobody getting in my comments saying that I'm sorry, I just don't know her like that. But for some reason, her name did pop in my head. But so whatever she was known for, whatever her purpose was, her name was given before she walked in her purpose. That's the point I was trying to make. But he said something else. He said, not a substitute, but a solution. Not a substitute, but a solution. So stop trying to be like everybody else. We don't have to be like anybody else, because when we're imitating other people, then we cannot be walking in our purpose. So I remember when my nephew Aiden, the KK's son, Aiden, KK and Dexter's son, Aiden, was at Night and Low. And I remember I just happened to be at the school that day, and I think he may have been in kindergarten or first grade. I can't remember the exact grade, but I just happened to be at the school that day, and the teacher had called in. She was having some problems. So I was like, well, I'll go sit in, substitute until you guys can find someone else, right? I'll go fill in the classroom. So that brings me back to this, not a substitute, but a solution. So in the class, Aiden says, Aunt Lynn, that's not what we do at this time. And I'm like, okay, well, what do y'all do, Ada? He said, Aunt Lynn, that's not what we do. Aunt Lynn, we do this. Aunt Lynn, we don't do that either. Aunt Lynn, it's not time for that. And I said, so when he said not a substitute but a solution, when I was studying this yesterday or the day before yesterday, it reminded me of how we imitate others, meaning we're just a substitute. See, being that school teacher, being the teacher in that class was not my purpose. That's why I didn't know. That's why I could not fulfill the duties of a school teacher, because I was a substitute. So I was not a solution to the problem, but I was merely a substitute. So stop trying to imitate others, because when we imitate other people, we're only a substitute and we're not the solution to whatever the problem is. I hope that makes sense. But then this is the last thing, because this isn't a long live. I just wanted to share this. But he says, set apart before you were accepted. Set apart before you were accepted. Set apart before you were accepted. So I don't know if anybody have seen that movie, The Accountant or The Accountant 2, you know that Ben Affleck he plays a character that has autism, and he has something called savant syndrome, right? But he's really good with numbers. But in the first Accountant, his dad tells him, he says, they don't like you, they don't dislike you, but you're different. And sooner or later, different scares people. You're basically, he's telling him, you're set apart. And because you're set apart, because you're different, people, they don't like you and they don't dislike you. But because you are different, then it may appear as if they dislike you. I hope that makes sense, because he was just basically telling him that you're so different that you've been set apart. I hope this message helps somebody like the way it is me. Like, I have not been able to sleep since Sunday. Like, I have been tossing and turning, been meaning to get up and share this word. Before I forget, because his topic was built for this. Built for this. And I'm just going to sum this up really quick. And his name again was Pastor Jarrell Winters. And I'm not sure what church he's from, but I think somewhere in Opelika. But Pastor Jarrell Winters, and he said, built for this, Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Formed before you were visible. Because these are the takeaways. I got to give y'all these takeaways again. Formed before you were visible. Known before you were ready. Lord have mercy. Not a substitute, but a solution. And set apart before accepted. I hope that blessed somebody. Good morning, Faye. I didn't get on here trying to wait for people to get on. I just really wanted to just share this message and just to get it off of me, because I could not rest without sharing it. So